Hey, Lawrence here. Welcome to Business Beats. Quick tech episode today. Thought I'd jump in, have a little bit of a chat. It's Friday here in the company and the business, right? And it's been a pretty crazy day. Um, there's certainly a lot going on in the business. So I wanted to talk about that. So today's ep is just to have a conversation around what's happening in your business, right? So and not just in your business, I guess what's happening in your life and how you sort of deal with that. And the other thing is there's a couple of flip sides to that. What I want to talk about is running fast, right? So why would you run fast? When should you run fast? And how you manage running fast and that sort of component, right? Because I think there's a lot of different things inside running fast in a business. So today I'm running 1,000,000 miles an hour, like 100%, 1,000,000 miles an hour. It's been non-stop. It's the first time I've had the opportunity to sit down, take a bit of a breather, grab myself a cup of coffee, and just chill for a little bit and recap and regroup, get on the whiteboard, what I've achieved today. So I wanted to have a little bit of a chat about that just quickly. So I just want to start with the concept of running fast, all right? So I'm a bit of a sprinter, absolutely. I run pretty fast in the business, but let me tell you why I do it and how I do it, right? So there's so many rules to running fast. Like you can run fast, fall over, you're going to break your neck, break your knees, your elbows, whatever. You're going to graze your skin. So you want to be very careful, right? So running fast for me is a whole bunch of different things. The concept of the slower you go, the faster you get there is really important. So the slower you go, the faster you get there. You got to think about that because there's truth in that and there's also danger in that, right? If you don't know how to do that, you want to be very careful because what will happen is you'll run so fast, you're going to hit a brick wall and it's going to really hurt, right? Financially and commercially. So here's my concepts and my hacks around how to run fast in that space, right? So the first thing is everyone needs to understand the concept. So if you're working with the team or people, this could be in your relationship as well. If you've got lots of stuff going on in your life, when you run fast, a couple of things will happen. Your communication may change a little bit. You don't communicate as much. You're normally pretty tired and you got to figure out how to manage that. So there's all these little vertical things that are going on inside your life when you're running pretty fast, right? And for me, it's about, I don't get a lot of sleep. But when I do go to bed, I sleep like a baby, right? Because I'm exhausted. You got to stay on top of stress and anxiety. That's really important. So you got to understand that concept. And if you're going to run fast, why are you doing it in the first place, right? So I'm running fast today, especially because there was just a lot of stuff on meetings, one-on-ones. I had some virtual meetings I had to attend, face-to-face meetings. I had to have a coffee with a person. I've got a meeting with the general manager. I've got to drop in with the sales manager and have a meeting with him as well. So there's all these things happening. What happens is they stack. And there's one after the other, and as it stacks, everything sort of starts to elevate itself, right? It starts to move pretty fast. So when things are moving fast, your mindset has to slow down. Let me say that again. When you're moving really fast, your mindset has to slow down, so you have to control it, right? Otherwise, it's all going to get frantic and you're going to get all stressed out. So because people look for their leaders and the people around them to be quite controlled. And in a fast-paced environment, it's easy to get really frantic and get distracted and start talking about all these things. And next thing you're talking about this, and then you're jumping over here, and then you're jumping over here, and then everyone is totally confused about what the direction or what the result or the goal is, right? So think about that. Back to that concept: the slower you go, the faster you get there. Really unpack that for you, and what does that mean, right? So I'm a big fan of iterations, right? I like to iterate. So if I'm working on a project, I said to someone the other day, don't, if you build a time machine, don't think about where you're going to go. Just get focused on building the time machine, right? So because you might not be successful, you don't know how long it's going to take. So why would you even think about where you're going to go? Now, that may seem counterintuitive, but it's actually not, because what happens is you start focusing on the end goal and reverse engineering it. You should do that for planning and strategy, but you certainly should never do that for execution. Because what happens is everyone's going to get caught up in the end game when all you need to do is get caught up in the first step, right? So just be a little bit careful about that inside a team. That can happen, right? You can really get caught up and all the bullshit, right? And all the details towards the end of the project or whatever it is. So today, I'm running fast but going slow in between groups and meetings. When I'm in those meetings, I'm talking slowly. You know what I mean? I'm really grounding the productivity, right? So I'm doing multiple tasks but doing them slowly. And that doesn't mean that I'm going to have a 60-minute meeting when it should be 30. That just means in the 30-minute meeting, we're not going to waste time on talking about things we don't need to. Like I said, talking about the future when we're not there yet, when we really just need to get the first component done. So that's sort of what I'm looking for and what I'm doing. So think about that. So the slower you go, the faster you get there. Like it's a quote that's been around, and a philosophy that's been around for many years. It's one that I lean into all the time. So just try and wrap some context around that. So the other thing is, the component about that is iteration, right? Is that when you have a meeting or you're trying to get some productivity out of a project or generate revenue or sales or whatever it may be, or you're trying to get to a specific result, you need to talk about the end game, but you only need to really focus on the start, right? So there is no point in focusing on 12 different things all at once when you should only be focused on 1 to 2 things maximum, right? Because here's the rule, and this rule is solid, and this doesn't change. The first step and the first completion of a project will dictate what the second step looks like. So the first step will dictate what the second step looks like. So don't get caught up on the second step too much. Consider it, of course, yeah, you should do that. But don't get caught up on it, because until you've completed the first one, you can't even get to number 2, right? So my advice, and that's the concept of it, like the concept of moving fast can be misleading, right? Just because of the words moving fast, that means everything you have to be running 100 miles an hour. In actual fact, I think you can go slow, right? And what happens is you make less mistakes, you make less errors. And the concept is you just get there faster. Where on top of a competitor, they're running so fast, they're making multiple mistakes, so they get to the result. It takes them longer to get to the result because they're busy fixing these mistakes. Staff leave, people shake, HR issues, budgetary issues. Where if you go nice and slow, you get there faster, right? In its entirety of what a project should look like anyway, or a business or whatever it may be, a startup. Even a relationship, right, which is pretty weird. But the concepts of that are the same. Like in a relationship, just go nice and slow. And what that might look like in a relationship context, say if you were in a new relationship, it's not about talking about the wedding. Like that's a waste of time. You should talk about what's important to you. What are your values? What are your goals in your life? What's important to you? What's not important to you? How do you see things over the next 3 to 5 years? Why talk about 10 years in the future? You might not even make it past 6 months. I say that to people in recruitment. I say, oh yeah, but I want to do this, I want to do this, and I want to earn that sort of money. I said, mate, you can earn any amount of money you want in this business. I don't care. You can be the CEO. But here's the thing, you haven't even started yet, and you're thinking about where you want to be in 2 years, because you might not make it 5 days. Right? You're coming on Monday, and we might fire you by Monday afternoon. So you've really got to think about the concept of what that looks like, right? So really important to get that right. So just sort of get some clarity, be conscious of it, just think about it. Like, why is that important to me, right? I think that's really critical. So there's a part B to this running fast thing, right? Which I've been doing today. In fact, we're running fast as a company right now. Like it's crazy. We're trying to scale yet again. We've had a year of not scaling, but a year of sort of settling a few things into the company, getting our policies and systems right, and getting all that stuff right. But now I think we're trying to really scale. And how do we do that? And we do it by moving fast, right? So we want to move fast. We want to move fast to generating revenue. Because that revenue can support the growth and scalability of the business, right? But here's the thing, it is so competitive in the market right now. Certainly with technology, you have to move fast, right? So we want to be one of those companies, we want to be the best in this country. And I think that's completely possible. So I've just resigned to the fact that we will be. And we will do anything it takes. We will work hard, we will punch hard, we will be aggressive in the market. But we will get there eventually, and I need to drive that with my team, right? So when you're looking at if you've got a small business and you're looking at growing that business, my advice would be get to product market fit really quickly, and then launch. Let the market fix it, bring it back, iterate, innovate, and then release it again, and just keep doing that around in circles. Because while you're sitting there and innovating, 3 other companies are going to launch that product and get there faster and take the market faster than you will, right? So that was sort of one of the things I wanted to talk about today, is that running fast thing is really, really critical. Now, then again, there's all these other things you need to consider. Culture, are people on board with that? Can they handle it? Because normally there's an element of capacity in human beings that you really need to be across. And that's, do they have the capacity? Like, do the humans have the capacity? So when you're recruiting and you're looking at scaling a company, one of the most important elements that you should look for, the attributes, will be capacity. So does this person I'm about to recruit and invest, $100,000 in every year, plus on costs, do they have the capacity? And what does that capacity look like? So you got to be very, very careful about, that really trying to get that uptake as fast as you can requires a team that can handle it. Well, and if you get that wrong, you're going to be, the faster you go or the slower you go, so you get there faster, it's still going to shake people. Let me break that down a little bit, because when I said that, I just thought, okay, don't misunderstand me, that when you're running fast here, not running fast here. So if you're gonna run fast here, that's okay, right? Then you're minimizing the impact, right? So this is the company and 100 more people. This is 3 or 4 people, and you're containing the risk, right? So that's what I mean. Iteration. This is an iteration. This is the result. This is an iteration. Result, iteration. So you want to work in the space. And then once that's been achieved and that result within that element and that iteration has been resolved, then you can open it up to the next one. That's what I'm saying. Like, be very careful. I'm not saying go from here to here. What I'm saying is go from here to here really fast, right? And then the next one, go from here to here really fast. If you shoot that way too quickly, man, everything just goes boom, falls over. Crazy. I've seen it happen so many times. So just be conscious of that. So that's what I mean about that whole thing about the slower you go, the faster you get there, right? Move fast, but the slow component of that is that you're doing it in a small box. I hope that makes sense. Sometimes it's hard for people to understand that. Move fast in a small box, not in a big one. So when you do that, now I'm getting back to where I was before. When you do that, now you're looking for people who have capacity. So you need to build a team around you of people that have capacity. I'm looking at the recruitment process again. And there's a couple of key definitive things that I'm looking for now in a recruitment strategy. By the way, if your recruitment strategy is not right, you'll never get there. I'm starting to learn this, and I'm only recently starting to learn this by studying and researching other big, successful, highly scaled companies over short periods of time. So I'm looking for businesses that have scaled to 100 million in sort of 3 to 7 years, right? What did they do to do that? To acquire that success. One of them was recruitment, and a couple of case studies that I've gone through. In both instances, they both said the first thing you have to do is get your recruitment strategy right. So you need to recruit the right people. That's why I'm talking about, if you want to run fast, you got to have people that have capacity. Look, a whole bunch of other skills as well, but capacity is certainly one of them, right? So you need to be across that. And as the founder or whoever you are in the company, that sits on you. Right, so it's not, no one else is responsible for that. No, you can have a general manager, HR person, whatever, right? But you need to set the boundaries for that. So to give you a little bit of context on that, my new focus would be that the individual needs to be of a certain age bracket, right? Depending on the role. So hypothetically, if it was a salesperson, be a younger person. If it was an operational person or a C-level, there'd be an older person, right? That sort of makes sense. I want them to be curious. That's one of the words I've put down on our recruitment strategy. And what that means is curiosity will work for both the company and the individual. Normally you can put someone on a career pathway, and that curiosity is something that they're intrigued to develop themselves personally. They ask the right questions. They want to know more about things. That means their ability to upscale learning and development is normally faster than someone who does not have natural curiosity. They get to understand the product better. People who are normally curious will will really research product well, the company history well, and all those things that are really, really important to be able to promote and get a really good product to the market, where people who don't have that don't normally do that. It's crazy. Curiosity is one of them. The other one is attitude. Do they have the right attitude? Because we don't want to employ anyone who's got a bad attitude. It's hard for us to turn attitude around when you think about it in a training context, because sometimes it's innate and you actually can't change it. It's just too hard, right? So that's something that we're looking for. The next one is intelligence. So we like to look for people who are at least degree qualified. Bachelor, master's, whatever, right? Dual degree, whatever that may look like, any sort of college degree. And what that tells us is that they're committed to something early on in their life and they completed it. Not only that, they've probably put themselves in an environment, a socio environment where, they're around other people who like to educate themselves. That normally sparks a bit of a lifelong learner. That sort of gives us an indication of what they're like. They've acquired some knowledge and they now have to execute that, right? But certainly that thing about starting something and finishing something and that level of commitment that they have to do that, I think is really important. And if they've got a student loan for that, that's also good because they have to pay that off, right? And the way to do that is to work hard and to create wealth for themselves. Now, you would think experience would be a major component, but it's actually not on the list, okay? I haven't got previous skills and experience on the list because I think it's dangerous. Let me tell you why. Because if someone's had 10 years experience in doing something, why are they looking for another job? It just doesn't make sense, right? If their tenure in certain employers is 2 years, 2 years, 2 years, 2 years, 2 years, I'm like, we can't employ that person because there's a problem, and you're going to want to sell yourself on it based on their 10 years worth of experience. But if they can't hold down a job, they're of no use to you because there's something about them that just doesn't work, right? So you want to be careful. And here's the thing, 10 years worth of experience means that they've onboarded a whole bunch of habits, right? They've become fairly habitual in the expertise or the skill set that they occupy, which is challenging because that means that are they coachable? So are they coachable? Like, will they listen or do they say, no, I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this for 10 years. So there's a whole bunch of barriers there that you have to overcome with an individual who's worked somewhere for 10 years. I don't think it's a very attractive thing to have on the resume. Don't get me wrong, the duration with one employee for 10 years tells me something. That's a much better element. Like, we would potentially consider that and put that on the table. That tells me that if it's been a high performing role, and it's a company that we know of, and we say to ourselves, I know that company, they do not tolerate fools, they only look for high performance, and if you've been there for 10 years, it's a bit of a no-brainer. Now, if you don't know the company, you've got to dig really deep on the reference check, right? It's so critical. So don't recruit on experience. I just don't think it's one of those variables that actually has any cred. There's no street cred in that for me, and I'll tell you what, from my experience, it never works out. They apply for the job. Hey, yeah, I've got 10 years worth of experience doing this. But my question is, well, why are you looking for a job in the first place? Because if you've got 10 years experience and you're as good as you say you are, mate, you don't need to go looking for work. You should be headhunted. The other thing to that is, I don't really like hiring people who are in the market because it doesn't make sense. I like to headhunt people who are not on the market, right? So, look, I won't dig deep on strategy of recruitment. I've got quite a bit of experience in that space, so maybe that's another app, but just be careful about hiring on experience. So that's not on the table for us. The last thing is coachability. So are they coachable? Because if they're not coachable, we can't help them. So we normally find the young guys and girls are pretty coachable. They're like a blank canvas, right? So that's sort of our ideal candidate, because if they're intelligent and they're coachable and they have the right attitude, they can do anything. Like, they just can. So if your training's good, your systems are good, your induction process is good, they can do anything. So, and it's a lower cost to the business, right? Because the salary is a lower salary. You can set them up on a career pathway, so your retention strategies tend to increase and you have staff for longer periods of time. And that's sort of what we look for. Okay, so back to that running fast, right, which is the sort of nature of this episode, is that there's so many things that's incorporated in that. You've got to have the right people, right? You've got to build the right culture around it. Don't run from here to here where you're trying to do 10,000 things all at once. Do one thing really quickly, really efficiently, contain it to mitigate risk, and then go to the next thing. Don't worry about the future. You can figure that out later. Just go straight for what's the first thing we need to do to educate ourselves so we're wiser when we make the next step in the project for step 2 or stage 2, right? So you just got to figure all of that out, and you need the right leadership, and you need the right team that have capacity. So that capacity thing is something that I'm really learning, is that how do you measure that? There's a whole bunch of strategies around that. There's a lot of questioning you can ask in interviews around that. You know, these are some of the things that we're experiencing now and we're sort of going through, and we think are really important to the business, right? So just wanted to check in and talk about that, because today and this week has been a very crazy week. And as the founder and the CEO, you know, I need to ensure that everyone's okay. You know what I mean? That's what we do as a CEO. You know, we've got 2 things at the moment: sales and people, right? Because I think people are critical, people are really important. We have great people, by the way. You know, I can honestly say the people we have in this company are pretty special. So, you know, look after the people, run fast, create a culture around running fast. You know, we're a bit of a 10X business, but be careful and make sure you got the right leadership team in play to stop the shaking and everyone freaking out, to manage that as best you can. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. I hope that helps. I think it's really important. And it's really relevant for us right now, just based on where the companies are at. You know, we have 3 companies and we're just about to start another company in a particular vertical working in the international market, right? So I'm going to run fast with that project. Like, I'm going to run super fast on that project because it's got a high success rate. If we move really fast into the market, we can capitalize market share. Would be one of the first in this country to do it. So I'm going to be very aggressive at it. So today was about strategizing on how to hit the market on an international product that no one else has their hands on. So that is the reason to run fast, right? So that's why I wanted to talk about that today. So I'm trying to figure out how to do that. My brain is going a million miles an hour, but I'm still very cool, calm, collected, right? I just need to now, you know, over the next couple of days, my brain will figure out a way to put that on paper. And then I'll bring it to the management team, we'll figure out how to execute, and then we'll just launch it. Like, it's that simple. You know, you don't need to sit there and have meeting after meeting for 30 days, 60 days, mate. Just get it done. Because here's the thing I say, let's just start, we'll figure the rest out later, right? Just start and figure the rest out later. And don't get caught up on all the stuff, right? Like, all the stuff's gonna be there when you get to it. So just, I would think you just need to worry about it then. Make sense? I hope so. Because if it doesn't, this has been a whole waste of time. Okay. So look, I hope you liked that. I hope you got something out of it. I appreciate you checking this out. Yeah, look, we're a non-for-profit venture. If you can, you know, subscribe, hit the bell so you get the notifications, that would be certainly appreciated. And I look forward to speaking to you next time. Thanks.